This is TWiT.
I am nuts. I admit it. I woke up Wednesday morning. I saw at 6 a.m. Microsoft selling a new phone. I rushed out, laid down my $1,400, and bought a Surface Duo. Then I read all the articles saying, oh, this is a terrible idea. I thought it was a great idea. Any thoughts? Was I nuts? It looks like a little Monoskine notebook, 2 screens. I was going to buy the Galaxy Fold. I thought, why fold it in half? Just have a hinge, 2 screens. The software works so that you can move stuff. You can have two Android apps running. The other thing I think it's interesting, it's for the first time ever, Microsoft, which normally provides operating systems to OEMs who build hardware, for the first time ever, Microsoft is an OEM building hardware based on Google's software, somebody else's operating system. It's their first Android device. I think it's very interesting. And I think it could be a form factor that could change things. Am I nuts, Amy?
Well, did you ever play with, I'm sure you did, the Windows Phone a billion years ago?
Oh, those were awful, though. Those were terrible.
Well,
which Windows Phone? No, Windows Phone 7 and 8. The new one with the tiles, I like that.
The tiles. It had the tiles.
You're not talking about the old Windows CE.
No.
Oh, yeah. The tiles, I like that. I thought that was good.
I actually thought that the phone was, and I can't remember which operating system it was, but the hardware was pretty nice. It was sleek.
The Nokias, yeah.
Oh, the Nokia cameras are fantastic.
40-megapixel cameras.
Right. Yeah, it was a good
They were
phone.
great. The operating system was
I don't even think I think Microsoft did something really interesting. They sat back while Google and Apple went crazy with mobile, and they looked, they said, okay, we could do something better. And they did make something better, but by then they were way in the back. And Google and Apple were miles ahead of them, and it was hopeless.
So full disclosure, I've advised Microsoft on and off for many years. I continue to think that in a lot of areas, Microsoft has superior code, has superior products.
Not Windows.
The problem is making decisions internally and getting it to market. So where is the value network? Where is the ecosystem of the developers and the people and the processes and the work streams and the apps and you know what I mean? It's just, I think at some point you have to also invest in really developing and getting that entire ecosystem.
Let me make the case. Let me pretend that I'm Satya Nadella or Panos Panay who's in charge of devices. Let me make the case. People, the world is changing, clearly, right? The idea of a PC on your desk, mobile completely blew that out of the water, right? This is Microsoft's business. In fact, for the first time ever, I was looking at Microsoft's quarterly, or actually it was the yearly results. And Azure was the biggest moneymaker. Then there was Windows, then there was Office, then there was a bunch of other stuff. Those lines have completely crossed. Microsoft is a cloud company now. And I wonder really how much longer they care that much about Office and Windows. So what I think is that they're thinking, Nadella comes from the Azure division, they're thinking, look, devices aren't going to matter so much. Nobody's going to say, oh, I have to run Windows. It doesn't matter. I can run a Chromebook, I can run an iPad, I can run anything I want. I need a window to the cloud. What does matter is form factor. And what Microsoft is desperately trying to figure out is, what are these thin clients? We know our business is going to be selling software as a service and operating systems as a service. What are the clients going to be, and how can we have a part of that market as well? And so it makes sense for them to release something that is a complete it's not a slab of glass. It's a unique way of looking at it.
It still relies on parts from other places around the world.
Well, that's true.
But this could potentially be a challenge going forward.
Who's going to make anything nowadays if you do that? If you say that, I'm not going to make any I can't make a refrigerator.
Well,
I've got to say,
I'm going to make it in Muncie? Where am I going to make it?
I've got to say, I do kind of like Microsoft's approach to this, in that they've eschewed they've got rid of the whole folding screen business, because I still don't think the technology is there on that.
Yeah, that's clearly bad.
Doing the dual screen, I think, is going to pay benefits, but it's Microsoft. They're not exactly innovators. They are developers rather than innovators.
Well, that's why I thought this was interesting, because you're right. I mean, I wasn't very impressed with any of the Surface stuff. And I'm not a Windows fan. I don't like Windows. But I think this idea of 2 screens, it's small enough to put in your pocket, but it opens up to an 8-inch, kind of like a tablet. It's kind of interesting.
If they can get the scrolling between the two to work fine,
It looks pretty good.
That would actually work fairly well. I've never yet seen a foldable screen which would last more than 6 months to a year. And
But the screen's not folding. The screen's not folding.
Yeah,
That's
no,
the beauty
exactly.
of this.
This is why they've done the smart thing by doing 2 separate screens. You know, Samsung and the rest of them can go for this folding screen, but I don't honestly think it's going to work.
I feel like
Sorry,
I saw an
I just swore there.
HTC. I feel like I saw an HTC phone. I used to live in Hong Kong, and I was going back and forth a bunch. I feel like I saw HTC or somebody else had a dual screen, so you had to flip the phone around, but it was you doubled the real estate.
LG has a dual screen. No, you're right. This has been around. In fact, remember when you lived in Japan and those big kind of weird phones that were really they had flipped, but they had 2. They would. This is not new.
Now, I keep wondering when sort of, I'm surprised we haven't seen more work in scrolling surfaces, more like an e-ink versus a traditional screen that's now just bigger and 2 hinged together. For certain purposes, I think we're headed to an ecosystem where we've got more diversification of devices for a while, where we've got a lot of experimentation in different types.
That's one of the things I kind of wanted to celebrate. Yeah, the last thing I want to do is buy another glass slab.